Hello, having a Hull Yeah Hangout. We haven't done one of these for a while. Let's have an intro first. Go.
This is Big E from the new day. Give me that Hull Yeah. Give it to me. I need it.
Yeah, thanks, E. Right, yeah. So tonight we're doing a little bit of an impromptu Hull Yeah Hangout because there's a lot going on. And the main genesis of this one is we've got a little bit of an open house between Gimme A Hull Yeah, WrestleSphere, and Rebellious Noise. I've got Scott from Rebellious Noise, who I'm going to bring in just a moment. But yeah, we're mainly doing this because I keep missing his streams. He keeps missing our streams. So we thought, let's catch up. Let's do it as a Hull Yeah Hangout. And I'm going to bring him in now. Here he is. Hello, Scott.
Hello, Sam. How you doing?
I'm all right. How are you? I can see all your merch, your cool books and stuff behind you, looking good. A new hat. I've not seen that hat before.
Oh, it's an old one I brought out of retirement, actually. So, you got to recycle them every now and then. I see, obviously, we're both hat men. So nice to get that appreciation there.
Well, it's okay. Well, I was going to say, you have a different hat every time I see it, where me, I have the same hat. And you've probably not even seen the top of my head. I always just seem to have this hat. But we're just going to look. We have a jingle for Hull Yeah Hangout. We haven't used it for quite a while. It's obviously we spared absolutely no expense on it. So we're going to use it now because, obviously it's such an investment, something that took us so long and we put so much into, we have to use. So here it is.
Hull Yeah Hangout, Hull Yeah Hangout, Hull Yeah Hangout. Hangout.
There you go. So as you can see, so much went into that jingle. We had to do it. So just before we get going, let's just see who we got in. And excuse me, I've just had loads of fajitas for dinner, so I'm a little bit like spicy and everything. So we got Mark in, our moderator. Hello, Mark. John G in. Mark has gifted someone a Gimme A Hull Yeah membership. What a geezer. That's just me justifying why I'm late. There we go. And we got Connor in as well. Madman Max. God, we've got loads of people in tonight. It's great. Tyson Fury is officially in.
Nice.
Hello, Tyson.
Didn't expect that one.
I was going to say, I know a friend of mine saw the real Tyson Fury jogging the other day around Morecambe. But so that was pretty cool.
Maybe he put in a word, mate. That's how he's found out about you.
Well, obviously, Tyson, Fury watches us religiously every week. That just goes without saying, mate. So, and we've got Ishii in as well. So, wow, we've already got a little crowd. So, let's just get into it, Scott. So, at this moment in time, it's been a while. We've just come off Clash at the Castle, which is why you can see the Clash at the Castle logo floating above your head, just there. And I just thought, so much is going on. It's a big Raw tonight. Let's just. Where are you at right now with WWE?
So I was a little behind going into Clash. I was away for a bit. Well, actually, I've been away twice recently, not to brag, but I've just not really been able to keep up with the product as much as I wanted to. And then you know what it's like. You're trying to catch up as much as you can in a short spell before a PLE. You can only take in so much. But I was still pretty hyped up for the show, to be fair. And of course, on Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel, we've done a review and things like that. And my general kind of consensus coming out of the show was that I really enjoyed it. And it was kind of the middle rank for all the international PLEs so far. But now that I've stepped away from it a few more days, I would say, it's probably the same, but because it doesn't budge much because the other shows are what they are still. But I just, it doesn't feel, I'll be honest, doesn't feel as special a few days later. I've started to kind of, but some of the things I was annoyed about, I'm not as fussed about anymore either. So there is that. But it wasn't the first one, was it?
I suppose, yeah. Like, it's a weird one because Jess and I were talking about the first one. I think you and I were both there at the first one, weren't we? And I remember thinking after that one, that was a bit like a glorified house show. Not a lot happened. But then when I think, fast forward 2 years, and I think back to that one, it was the genesis of Dominic Mysterio's heel turn, and look what's happened since. The story with McIntyre and Roman Reigns has had ramifications for a couple of years as well. It's really impacted Drew as a character, and it's made him go from a justified an angry face to a heel who's become more and more and more. He's got a bit crazy with another CM Punk stuff. So where I used to look at the old one as a glorified house show, I now see it as a turning point almost, and it communicated to WWE that, oh my God, we got to keep coming back to the UK because blimey, listen to them. And I think it was the first time Bayley actually acknowledged and liked us singing that song at her as well. So that was kind of nice. Normally she tells us to F off because she's a heel. So I know what you mean. It wasn't as good as the first one. And I think there were some questionable booking decisions as well at times. But you know me, I'm a glass half full kind of guy. And under Triple H, I do believe in trusting the process. So let's just talk about some of the results. So Cody AJ, I think that was the right result. We're nowhere near the time for Cody to lose the belt. I feel like if they were to do that, not only would it bury Cody, but it would also risk burying Roman Reigns, who gave a very significant and historical title run to Cody. The McIntyre thing, though, that I'm a bit not surprised by, because the CM Punk thing, now that's what I want to see. That writes itself. Priest versus Gunther, I want to see at SummerSlam. But we've got Money in the Bank to get through first. So what you meant, I'll just quickly go through these comments. Yeah. And then you mentioned a couple of things you weren't very happy about, and we'll go through them. So Madman Max says, I'm really curious to when Cody Rhodes will turn, I think you mean heel, with all the reactions he gets, the crowd singing his song. I think he should be a face. Cody Rhodes is very much a face.
Is that just when he kind of acted like a heel at the end of this match? He did the kind of thing that a heel would do, right? Just
see, Stone Cold Steve Austin was a baby face and did way worse than that all the time.
True.
So I'm kind of thinking, was that just not him just saying, "Screw you, you son of a bitch"? Don't you know?
Yeah.
I'm the guy.
Not very honourable, but he's been pushed to his limits and all that kind of stuff. But
I would have done the same thing. Gone home and kissed my wife and just been me.
Yeah, you're a good guy, so it's fine.
I like to think so. How sore will it be if you went through 15 minutes top of a ladder? It depends what you're doing on the top of that ladder, I think, Connor. Cody is a face. I don't know if Madman Max is taking the mickey, but you never know. I was going to say Tyson Fury said, Tyson Fury said, I'm a big fan. I always put the channel on while training.
Nice one, Tyson.
Thanks, Tyson. I was going to say, mate, you've got, the question is now, do you retire or do you fight like hell to get back to where you need to be, really? And John G is saying, hi, Sam, I'm a member. Good to hear that, John. Looks like Mark is a good friend over there as well. But he's a good heel, but the fans treat him as a face. Madman Max, I feel the same. Just started watching wrestling this March because of The Rock. I've never understood why Cody is the bad guy. The fans love him.
What is going on here? He is a good guy.
Are we in opposite world?
I don't know what's happened there.
Cody, what? Cody's one of the biggest baby faces we've had since John Cena.
He's that way, but it's this tongue in cheek. I don't know what's going on here.
Max and Edwards, if your aim is to confuse Scott and I, you've absolutely succeeded. So congratulations. Jake is in. Hello, Jake. How you doing? Nice to have you here. Connor says tables. Get the tables, Scott. We want tables.
Somewhere, yeah.
Madman Max and Edward, Cody is the face. Yeah, Jake, we're as confused as you are, mate. We're as confused as you are. Mark saying, Fury, you fixed your glass jaw, mate. I'm not reading that. I guess it is the real him.
Can you imagine?
If it is the real him, he only lives half an hour away from me if it is. So, but there we go. Thank you, Mark, for giving me a membership gift. So, go ahead. So we've caught up, Scott. So talk me through, what did you like about Clash at the Castle and what didn't you like so much?
I mean, we've touched on it briefly already, but that opener, I did like the ending of it. Even that, it was confusing, and again, I've kind of gone over this already on my channel, so apologies if anyone's seen that already. But, the kind of, weird thing for to the commenter's credit there for a babyface to do at the end. And still do the move. And we were racking our brains, myself and Lucas. And since the show, I still haven't gone back and figured out who it was for sure. But there was a time where Cena was going to do an AA off of a stage or something like that to someone, and they quit. We would think it was Barrett or someone like that. Whoever it was, they quit, and Cena still did it. And it was a weird thing when that happened. So for it to happen again wasn't great, but I kind of got it. The other thing that I wasn't too thrilled about, which I'm sure is going to dictate quite a bit of the conversation, is the fans going home unhappy ultimately. And you know, again, we compared earlier on to the first one. Got to remember another big thing, as you say, you step away from that show now and you go, wow, all this storyline progression. Solo showed up. That was his debut on the main roster as well. So him costing Drew at the time infuriated me. It felt like the wrong decision. Now, of course, this Cody thing come out of it, it's worked out. But this time again, I was like, how can you let down the fans again? The difference this time round, though, is that, yes, it was in Scotland and it was kind of even more salt in the wound.
Yeah.
But he's a heel now, as you said, you know, it's about kind of, we're looking forward to it. I'm sure you are, most of us are, this storyline with Punk really coming into its fruition and getting a real chance to grow now. And it's been spread out since Punk came back, really. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. Does it need the title? No. Will it get the title? Maybe. But I just feel like, so stepping back, I'm like, you know what? Fair enough. He didn't need to win the title. It's not as annoying as the first time round, but the first time round kind of makes this one more annoying than it should be, because it's yet another time that fans in this country have been disappointed by Drew not leaving with a title.
Yeah, I agreed. I'm amazed they did that again. I'm just amazed.
It's just such a risky move. Like I'm sure you've seen the clip of Samantha Irvin being like, "Sorry guys, get home safe," and everyone booing her. It's like that's not her fault. Like that's her job to do it. But like, yeah, it's. I would have been annoyed if I was there in person. I'll be honest.
I think I don't know what you know, and this actually ties into what our friend, who I'm fairly sure is winding us up, is saying. It's like when we left WrestleMania 39. It was a lot of people went home unhappy. Now it was still the right call. Looking back on it, it was absolutely the right call. But yeah, there was a palpable sense of frustration and anger. But then, like obviously, my co-host Anthony was pissing himself and just laughing his head off. He was like, "That's one of the funniest results ever." Because look at you all. Yeah, look at you all. And it'll be so much bigger if it happens again, when it does happen now. And he's right. And he was right in the end. Like that loss, like we were all, me, Andy, and Dom particularly, were all a little bit deflated by that. And Anthony was just like laughing his head off all the way home. but there you go. I'll just quickly go up to some of these comments. I'm fairly confident, Max, you're winding me up. With all due respect, have you been watching SmackDown? I kind of host a show about it. He's definitely a heel. He turned heel just after Mania 39. Right, we are clearly living in two parallel universes.
Max, you clearly are a madman.
Yeah, like you know. Okay, I think I'm fairly. Cody's been legitimately a babyface since he rejoined WWE. I don't know if we're talking about the same Cody or the same promotion, or again even the same stratosphere. But here we are. But if you are deliberately trolling, you're doing a great job, and I'm kind of enjoying it. Keep it coming. You're making it interesting. Yeah, you know, that's the best kind of troll, not the guys who come in and are rude about my hat and leave. Like, we don't want them. We want more Max.
Yeah.
Right. So Connor's asked this again. So how sore will it be if you went through 15 tables on top of each other and 10 chairs on 2 ladders?
It's very specific.
Yeah, I think it would hurt like a son of a bitch.
Yeah, it reminds me of those. Is it? Who was it that threw the other one off the? That clip that used to go around like LimeWire and Kazaa back in the day, where someone gets thrown. Is it XPW, 1PW1 is kind of, or CZW, one of those kind of hardcore promotions in the early 2000s that came out of the death of ECW, where someone got thrown off of a scaffold structure at the top and they went for about 10 tables and slipped off. So go and find out whoever did that and ask them, because they'll let you know for sure. But I like the fantasy booking you've got going on there.
Yeah, and Jake's saying it, like, because I think now because what I love about WWE at the moment is they're doing all these multi-layered feuds. Like under Vince for the longest time, it was this person is against this person, that person's against this person. Now, and to be fair to AEW, they're not so good at it anymore, but when they started out, they were very good at this. Is it's okay to be feuding with multiple people at once, and for that to kind of cycle around, and I feel like that's been pretty cool. It's trusting the audience, but you know, I trusting the audience to understand that it's possible to feud with more people at once. And McIntyre is doing that now. Like McIntyre, I think the beef with Rollins probably got squashed at Mania because there was a show of respect between them both. I think he's definitively lost against Priest now. So now it's all about Punk.
Yeah.
So Punk McIntyre SummerSlam writes itself. I'm here for that. I think that'll be a good match. Max is back. I'm glad you love it, but I'm deadly serious. Sure you are. Maybe it's just me, but I get very heel tweener vibes off Cody.
No, again, he does do heelish things. You know, you compared it to Austin earlier. Like I've seen people say that lately. I think it was more the case in AEW, but I don't think there's any confusion. He's definitely a baby face. If he's got any heel in him, it's about 5%. But I get where you're coming from, but he's a baby face.
Yeah, like Cody's I think with Cody is he can be a bit slappable sometimes, but it's usually when he's trying too hard to be a baby face, like in AEW. Like in AEW, I was booing him because I actually felt like they were low key turning him heel. But he was. Do you know how they are with Chris Jericho right now? Or Jericho's coming out and going, "Hi guys," and he's being deliberately overbearing. So we want to smack him. So we want to see him get beaten up. I kind of felt like they were sort of doing that with Cody, and that he was the only one in the room who didn't know he was a heel.
Yeah,
which is actually great storytelling.
Yeah. It felt like that was coming around the was it the Anthony Ogogo storyline? That's when it kind of really started to ramp up.
Yeah,
I thought they were going to do it, but yeah, maybe it weren't storyline and they were legit as oblivious as the character seemed to be. But there we go.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of confusion going on. They didn't know, and when he actually said, "I will not turn," I thought, "Oh my god, they are serious." But thank God, like, because let's be honest, Cody coming back to WWE and being their top face has been has been the best thing in his career. Let's be honest. I've got 2 words for you, Max. Dusty Rhodes. Now, think about that. Apply it to this storyline, and you'll get your answer. But yeah, so I'm Sassy. Hello, lovely to have you with us. Nice to see you. I see Moxley's covered in blood there for a change. Has he just got out the shower? But that's the sort of thing he'd do. Mark, I think we all know what's going on here, dude. But yeah, I know what you mean. It's fun. It's making the stream exciting for me. But so let's move away from that. Where do they go from here then now, Scott? So obviously, clearly they're going to turn Cody Rhodes heel to please Max, and they're probably going to do that tonight. And could you, if they do now, I'll never doubt you again. Never doubt him again. But then we've got, so obviously Punk and McIntyre. What about Uncle Howdy tonight? Obviously, Dom on this channel is probably got his popcorn ready. He's probably got his jammers on. He's probably got, he's drank a load of coffee to stay up, and he's dead excited. I'm describing me when I stay up late there. But I think
just
Dom
apply it to Dom as well.
Yeah, pretty much. So is Howdy back tonight? And where are you on the whole Uncle Howdy story?
Well, it looks like it, right? There's that countdown, and if it isn't, then I mean it's been dragging already for a bit. So I kept thinking of PLE, like the last time we saw something like this, of course, is linked to Bray's return with a White Rabbit and Extreme Rules, which was still an incredible moment. I thought we were going to get something like that, to be fair, but then I kept thinking, it wouldn't. Maybe it's not going to be in Saudi. Oh, maybe it would have been Scotland. Maybe it'd be back in the States. And Money in the Bank, obviously, is the next one. Not in the States, but, Canada, a very familiar territory for WWE anyway. So maybe it was going to happen there. But, yeah, it looks like maybe not. It is going to be on a Raw. So I do think it's going to happen tonight. I could be wrong because I haven't been able to keep up with as many of the kind of QR codes and cryptic messages as I would like. I love this sort of stuff in wrestling. I know when Bray passed away, there was a lot of talk about whether or not we would ever get something like this again. And I've now finally caught up and watched the documentary about Bray as well, where, of course, they basically hint at the end there's going to be something. And it's clear now it's all related to that as well. But unfortunately, like I say, I haven't been able to keep up with it as much as I wanted to. I've dipped in and out of Howdy's Hangouts on this very channel as well, so that's been great from Dom as well to kind of help people like me look into things a little bit more. But even with that, I haven't been able to keep up. There's been so much stuff, there's been so many QR codes and so many hints that I just haven't had the time to see it all. But from what I've seen, I have enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. Again, from someone that hasn't seen as much, you'll probably know more than I do as far as what it's actually looking like. I saw a rumor yesterday floating around that it's going to be more of a realistic approach rather than the kind of spooky stuff. So that'll be interesting to see if that's the case, because it doesn't really line up with some of the previews and kind of promos I've seen. But at the same time, if you apply that to a kind of Wyatt family type vibe, then that's more grounded in reality anyway. So maybe it's going to lean towards that. I'm not too sure. But overall excited for it, man.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I'm someone who grew up really like loving the spooky stuff a little bit, like Sting. I was fascinated by Sting hiding in the rafters, and when he actually came down, rappelled down, and killed the NWO with a baseball bat, I was like, "Oh my, what is happening on my screen?" Then there's Kane, like coming out, ripping off the door. Everything with Kane and Undertaker back in the day in the 90s was amazing. You know, like the Attitude Era. We look back on it, we're roasting to glasses sometimes. There's a lot of crap, but there's a lot of good stuff too. And but I think Bray Wyatt was the modern version of that. Not everything Bray did. I'm a big Bray Wyatt fan, and not everything Bray did translated well. I actually felt he had a bit of a lull between the Wyatt family and then the Firefly Funhouse, the Fiend stuff.
Yeah.
But a lot of people didn't like the Firefly Funhouse and the Fiend. I loved it.
Same.
I thought like they kind of ruined it a little bit. I feel like as soon as it got good, Vince McMahon was like, "Oh, quick! I need to put this on T-shirts. I need to have him come out in the Thunderdome era and get set on fire." And I feel like that ruined it. I thought like less was always more with the Fiend, a little bit. And I thought the Firefly Funhouse was really creepy and smart. And I loved how you were never 100% sure that is this supernatural spookiness or is Bray just playing high-level mind games on his opponents to get the belt. But yeah, they did kind of do the Fiend to death a little bit. Like Mark says, it did become a bit overexposed. And dare I say, they did the same thing with Uncle Howdy a little bit. When those vignettes started and Howdy was talking to him on the screen and that and Howdy was almost stalking him, and we didn't know if is Howdy even Bray and stuff like
are they on the same side? Are they against each other? And
that was smart. But then when we started seeing him do the weather report and the jumping on LA Night with the puppets coming from behind him, I was like, oh, come on now. Something isn't working.
Yeah.
But I love the idea of them being almost an insurgency, as Sassy just says here, like on an Omor or OVE in TNA, where a group have come in and they're like, right, we've taken a group of dispossessed people and we're now turning them into a force to be reckoned with, and we're going to play deep psychological mind games with you all. There is no psychological stuff. Uncle Howdy is indeed Bo Dallas, but pulling the strings from behind the scenes and really messing with everyone. So yeah, I'm excited for it, and I'm going to write an article about this on WrestleSphere. But I don't think it needs to be perfect. I think it just needs to be good TV. I don't need it to, because I think there's some people under the impression that this Uncle Howdy thing needs to be the greatest thing since sliced bread, that it needs to fix all that's right in the world. It needs to make everyone's crush acknowledge them, or win the lottery, or it needs no. It's just wrestling. Yeah. So let's all take a step back and realize that some of this isn't going to work. Some of this is going to be a bit crap, but some of it's going to be awesome because that's exactly how WWE works. I don't know if you've any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I just think the big issue with the last time, the Uncle Howdy stuff is for me it just took too long. Then you had the Mountain Dew match and all that, and even that there was good moments in that feud and in that match, but obviously without needs to be said, is a tragedy what happened to Bray in the end, and I just couldn't help but thinking when all that went down of like kind of wasted some time there as well. I know he never got to, the big things, he never really got to show off this vision of this new part of the character. And that's where a lot of people have that expectation that this is going to kind of fulfill that and continue that. And it can only do it so much. Like I say, it can't be perfect, but there is a lot of pressure on him, I think, to kind of do it. Because again, when we were talking about this on my channel the other day, Lucas was saying like he kind of don't want to see it. He's seen enough of it because it's kind of done to death almost, but I like the idea of them picking it up and kind of continuing this legacy, but I just think there's so much riding on it. It's a real risky thing that it's gonna be compared to things that Bray was doing himself, right? And then if it doesn't hold up in that sense, that's going to be a tricky situation for WWE. And if they're just kind of missteps week by week, that's going to be a tricky situation as well. There's, what wrestling fans are like online. They can get a bit tribal and a bit kind of ridiculous, poking holes in things, right? So you're going to get every corner of it, sadly. No matter what, no matter how good it is, there's going to be people that take away from it. But I just really hope that people are considerate enough that they allow them to tell a story and kind of, especially for Bo Dallas, the performer, I just think he's an incredible talent anyway. I have a lot of faith that he will do something good with this. He's been under contract clearly for a while, and it's just another example of they've been waiting to pull the trigger. I just hope that in this time that they've been doing that, they've been actually fully planning out what they're going to do, and they're not going to make us wait too long to get significant progress in the storyline, because again that was the big problem for me last time round was the lack of significant progress that we were getting.
See, I had an issue with it last time. Well, like I enjoyed it progressing every week. I was frustrated when it didn't progress. Excuse me one moment, just going to quickly cut. That's better. There we go. So but at the same time, I think the thing that killed it last time is people were going, "Oh, when's he going to wrestle? When's he going to get in the ring?" And the problem with that is they then forced a feud, forced a match, and that took everything away. I think that we should have trusted them to tell the story that they originally set out to tell. And obviously everything with Bray and his health would have happened. But I do think if we had just trusted Bray, same with The Fiend, if we hadn't done The Fiend to death, if we just trusted Bray, it would have been all right. And it's, so there's, Jake said a minute ago, they're messing with Bray's creation. See, I'm not so sure that's true. Like, Bray is always going to be a part of this. Like, for God's sake, they're probably going to call the stable the Wyatt Six. Yeah. So this is a sequel almost to the Wyatt family. So Bray has had his fingers all over this, before we lost him, of course.
It doesn't exist without him, does it? So
no. And if anybody knows this stuff, it's Bo Dallas and the people in creative who were there with Bray in the room sitting down. So I actually trust this isn't being done to spite Bray. It's completely the opposite. It does need. He is always going to be part of it. He's very much part of it. Even though he's not, he is. So let's just quickly. I just think it's very disrespectful. But I think you've got to ask yourself, Jake, who knows more about Bray Wyatt, you or Bo Dallas? I'm fairly sure it's none of us or in the chat or me. It's not me. It's not Scott. It's not Dom. I'm fairly sure it's him.
It's not like when they really, really overdid Eddie Guerrero.
Like
Rey Mysterio won the bloody Rumble and then became world heavyweight champion as a man who is not a heavyweight. There were loads of random things they kept. And Randy Orton got heel heat by saying some things that I'm not even going to repeat, and that was borderline disrespectful, as someone will say, take away the borderline from that, Scott. But
yeah, take away the borderline. It was
but at the same time, like there was this argument of like, oh, Eddie would have liked this, and Eddie and there are people involved like Chavo backstage and Rey Mysterio and whatever else there. So if they did it there is the fear that they could do this in the wrong direction here. But I do think it's a different era, and as you say, Bo is someone that just watching that documentary alone made me realize that he had and still obviously does have incredible affection for his brother and admiration for him as a person, and would want to kind of uphold that, but also the creative side as well, and seeing them work together on or look back on some of the costumes and stuff like that, you know, it got me fired up thinking, man, this guy's going to do right by his brother. So yeah,
I got that exact same vibe from that exact same thing.
Yeah,
him looking at the masks, when he was looking down at the masks, and it's like he planned it all out. That was, some of that was him admiring his brother's genius. Another part of that was the showman, was the wrestler, was the second, third generation wrestler, Taylor Rotunda, going, the show must go on.
Yeah.
And we know how to make it go on. And I like you know me, Scott. I'm not a religious man, or I don't believe in heaven, hell, or any of that. I don't believe in people looking down on us or anything like that. I believe once you're gone, you're gone. But I do think that was I've got the baton now, Bray, and I'm gonna run with it for you.
Yeah.
That was the impression I got from, and that made me excited because of the passion in his voice when he said that. So whatever this is, they've been working hard on it. It might flop, but I think everybody owes it to Bray and owes it to ourselves as fans to give it a chance.
That's exactly. I mean, exactly you say. It could flop, as Jake says in a comment there. If it don't work, could dampen the legacy, and that is the big fear. But I do think they've got to give it a go. If it does flop, they probably can't really do this sort of thing again or anytime soon. But let's give him a chance, because Bray weren't the only one that kind of was part of this story, right? You know, Bo, or you know, Taylor or Howdy, whatever you want to call him, was about to do something big as well, and had the rug pulled away from him, not just in the sense of a personal loss, but also career-wise. He was supposed to have this big, you know, reunion as far as being with his brother, but being in a spotlight in WWE TV, which he hadn't been for quite some time. Obviously, he spent time away from the company as well. So not only is this something for Bray, it's something for Bo or Taylor, however you want to refer to him, to kind of get his opportunity again, which I thoroughly believe he deserved. You take away him being Bray's brother, and I still think, you know, this is someone who, as Bo Dallas in NXT, as part of the B team and all that stuff as well, he was always very entertaining. And there was always this thing in the back of my mind thinking, one day they're going to give him something good, right? Like one day he's going to get a prominent role, and this is his chance for it. So even if we take the Bray situation out of it, I'm just happy for Bo, because I hope this works for him.
I'm of the view with this, less needs to be more. I don't want this to be like, because there is the risk of them. Let's just quickly here. So Tyson's, my response to Tyson there would be, well, not if we don't let it be. We do. It's Bray's legacy is something we all control and we all hold. So we can't control what WWE do, but we can control our behavior on social media and what we comment and what we say and what we do.
Yeah.
Like me personally, even if I hate it, I'm always going to be constructive. And I don't think I will hate it, but even if I did, I'd be constructive about it, and I'd make sure, because that would help protect Bray's legacy. Because missteps happen, and missteps can happen without dampening a legacy.
I mean, there were a lot of missteps within Bray's actual career. And like we said, the Fiend kind of overdoing it, and that weird gap between the two characters, as you said earlier on as well. Like, that was one of the worst things about Bray's run, was that they kept failing to pull the trigger on him, and they kept pushing the wrong things. It happened time and time again. That's why it's frustrating. But even within that, the brilliance was just undeniable. It shone through all the time, and that's why we love Bray. But if we're honest with ourselves, like, he got through a lot of crap. When I was watching that documentary, and they kind of was like, when you look at it and you go, oh, he wrestled Randy Orton at Mania, he wrestled Cena at Mania, he wrestled Hunter, you're like, that's a CV. But if we're honest with ourselves, he should have probably won all of them. And he didn't. And that's what really happened. So if we can sugarcoat it and brush over the history like that, I'm sure we can find some things to be happy about this next part of the story as well.
I agree. I think when he said, I am the new face of fear, they should have had him end Undertaker's career and be that.
Yeah, what a streak,
Yeah, he should have done both of those things. And like I actually have some views on why Brock Lesnar was the right guy to do that, but I can counter my own argument, and I can definitely see the argument for why it should have been Bray as well.
Yeah.
So just to respond to Jake, have you seen the White Six members? Yeah. And I like them all. It depends how much wrestling you watch and how much you know about all those people, because every single one of the people in that stable so far has done some amazing work in wrestling.
So is this looking quite legit then? Like I don't really know. I haven't really paid attention to who it is. So
right. Do you want me to tell you now? Well,
yeah.
Do you know what? I won't. We'll see what happens tonight before I.
Okay.
Do
all right.
Because I just think we might be at a moment where. But again, you can Google it if you want. But for me, WWE, I would argue, has conditioned us to see all of those people as not big deals. But every single one of them has just never been given properly the right gimmick and the right push and the right. And this might be it. Is what I'd argue. So again, I have to disagree. If it was that, his family wouldn't be right behind it. Yeah, the thing we people keep forgetting is his family are doing this. They're behind this, so it can't. It's. I don't even know if it's fully Bo. But Bo.
I think if what happened with Bray happened a year later, and Bo was clearly back in WWE, because even that it was like, is he Uncle Howdy? Even though we didn't really know. I think if it was a year later, we'd be looking at it differently. We're going, someone's just carrying on their own storyline. Again, that's a big part. We've got to remember, Bo is carrying on his own storyline here as well. It's not just about Bray. As much as I love the tribute to Bray and the fact that Bray, again, if it wasn't for him, this wouldn't be happening in the first place. Yeah. But we got to give Bo a chance himself. We've got to Bo leave everyone.
Connor, you're right. That was the ridiculous match we were referring to earlier. Yeah. I agree. I think we have to give it a chance. I do think they know what they're doing, though. They might need to recalibrate on a few instances, but generally speaking, in the Triple H era, which we are now fully in, every time I've trusted the process, I've been rewarded for that faith, and that is fast becoming a theme. It's fast becoming a consistency. And look at the size of that stein. That's huge. And
I just spilled some water out of it as well. Whoops.
So, let's move on from Bray because it's usually Dom's job to does all the Bray stuff, and I just kind of watch it back, and I don't look into the QR code myself. That's what Mark and Dom are for. Yeah. So, cheers, guys. Let's have a little look at what else happened, like Sami Zayn and Chad Gable, even. So, where are you with that after Clash at the Castle, Scott?
Maybe I didn't like this show. No, look, again, another example of a great match and some good moments in it. But for me, going into it, all I wanted to see was some storyline progression, and we didn't get either of them, either the things I expected or hoped for, which was the turn from Alpha Academy, or mainly Otis, really, or Gable finally winning the belt. And we didn't get either of them. So at the end of the match, I just felt unfulfilled, unsatisfied, deflated, whatever you want to call it. It didn't feel good at the end of that match. And it's just like, are we going into another one of these again? I'm not quite sure. But wherever they do or don't go with it, as with regards to whether or not it carries on with Sami Zayn, I just think they missed a step. I know a big thing always comes up that Gable should have probably beat Gunther in the first place. Sami Zayn didn't need it. Sami Zayn should have won a world title, but timing didn't help with that either. I never liked Sami Zayn pretending winning the IC meant as much to him as winning the world would have meant, because he's been IC champ. Heck, he held 2 at once before as well. So that retelling the history frustrated me, and Gable just felt like the perfect person. Now, I'd be ridiculous if I was sitting here saying, but it didn't benefit Gable in the long run as far as his heel work and how that's worked out with Otis and all this kind of stuff. But the fact is, you still need to pull the trigger on one of these things, in my opinion. I think Gable should either win the IC title or it needs to be turned on. And I'm worried that the turn-in will happen, but the IC title won't, and the turn-in will be too late. Because, yeah, we got Otis sticking up for the 15th time in a row, being conflicted and not sure. But the fans never really could let themselves go because it was like, is he turning? No, he's not. Okay, again. And there was just no satisfaction for me at the end of that match.
Yeah, it's with the Otis thing. I think they've been doing it too long, the Willie Won'ty stuff too long now.
Yeah.
So let's imagine if we had just seen some doubt in his mind for a week or two, and then he had just done it out of nowhere. Yeah. That would have been good TV. That would have been a moment. The fact that they've just been teasing and then not doing and then doing it, they've kind of lost my goodwill a little bit in that story. However, I did kind of like that he didn't fully attack Gable and join up with Sammy, and I like that he didn't attack Sammy again. Instead, he picked up his friend and got her out of Dodge. And I thought, well, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
I thought, well, that's he was his own man and he focused on his friend rather than the two people playing tug of war with him. And I thought, oh, okay. But there's one thing I noticed. Like, see, I've always been Team Sammy in this feud, in this story, because for me, this storyline was never about Chad. The storyline here is Sammy is the hero. Sammy was always the guy. Chad is the guy who gave him that extra ingredient in the recipe to beat Gunther. But the problem was Chad never had the recipe himself. All he had is the ingredient to give to someone else. And that's the story. The story is Chad is essentially not good enough, knows it, and is angry about it. Maybe one day he will be, but right now in this story, he's an angry, frustrated heel because he knows he's a loser. And we're obviously Chad's destined for great things, but before he's destined to be the hero and for those great things, I think he's going to be a generational villain. And that look he gave Sammy just as the match was over and Sammy was walking out with the belt, that look could have soured milk for 10 miles around. And I remember thinking, who is Chad Gable now? Who is Chad Gable without his silly stable? This killer that I want to see him become a killer now. I don't even want to see the Alpha Academy ever again. I don't want to see a thank you or shoosh ever again. I just want to see who is this guy now and what's he going to do. So that's where I am with it. But again, they could botch it. But I'm going to keep the faith.
I get that. I mean, it's definitely given, like I say, and I'd be ridiculous sitting here if it hadn't kind of given him, saying it hadn't given him something, right? I would have preferred to have seen him be the babyface that overcame or whatever else, and that put him into a new stratosphere in that way. But I think what you're saying there is true as well. Like they've given him a new element to his character, and it's given him something else to do that maybe will give him even more longevity, and that could work as well. I mean, for me, the way to kind of do it now is probably have Otis actually turn. I think Sammy should lose the title to Gable in a kind of cluster way where Gable was cheated, but Otis turns and Otis can take it off of Gable or something like that. Because the good thing about this as well, to be fair, is given, other than I think, they've kind of put the brakes on it a bit too much at the moment with not giving Otis that full turn, is it has given Otis that kind of fan, I guess, excitement again, like the excitement behind him again that he had back in the kind of early pandemic era when we first started doing our wrestling streams. I was adamant. I hated the fact that he had won the Money in the Bank because although he was super over, they're two very different positions for me. I was frustrated they did it. They took it away from him anyway, whatever. But I can't deny that he was entertaining and he was massively over. And I think he's been damaged hugely since that. And this has actually given him some of that shine back. So to their credit, they've been able to do that as well. And so there's a possibility that we get that former kind of red hot Otis going up against this mega heel that's been created thanks to Sami Zayn for Chad Gable as well. But it's just, again, another one of those things where it's all about timing. They could cluster, it all up. And hopefully that's not going to be the case.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because, and by the way, can we give Otis his original name back? On NXT, he was called Otis Dozovic. Dozovic also because he's a bulldozer, and he's
nice.
I think he's from Polish descent, I believe. So So Otis Dozovic was a great name.
It is a good name.
Yeah, and in NXT they gave him and they alluded to this the other day on Raw. They called him Dozer as a nickname, and then we went on the main roster and they dropped Dozer and just went with Otis. And I'm like, look at the guy, he looks like a Dozer.
Yeah, Dozer should probably be his name.
Yeah. What are they smoking? What are they doing? But anyway, that's been a pet peeve of mine since.
That's a good point.
Yeah, since he was in a tag team with Ducky. So, but yeah, so I see what you mean, because there is some speculation, isn't there, that if they do indeed start bringing Roman Reigns back, well, there might be Sami Zayn may find himself embroiled in the Bloodline Civil War again in some form.
Yeah,
like, will Sami and Roman ride again? Can bygones be bygones if it means taking down Solo and the rest of them? And I kind of like that. I think that's good. I know Sami's not technically part of the Anoa'is, but let's be honest, if any storyline has held our attention in recent years, it was that one.
Yeah.
So but the thing is, if that was to happen, that kind of means Sami doesn't need the IC, and we can have a situation between Gable and Otis. So fast forward to WrestleMania, do we have Otis versus Gable?
And it could mean a lot. Like that could be a match that 2 years ago we all looked at and would have gone, all right, cool. What's that, the pre-show? And like come WrestleMania, we could be going like, you know, maybe not main event in a night, but semi-main event of a night or something like that. You know, it could be a match that has great importance behind it. If we're in this kind of blood feud between the two of this really evil, conniving former master going against his, you know, babyface apprentice.
Yeah, I agree. I think we could have a situation with a little bit like how R-Truth was a comedy act and still is, has been for a long time. But a lot of people, I wasn't one of them, but a lot of people wanted to see him and Miz win the tag belts at Mania. They were behind them. And when it was revealed they were splitting the belts, that is only then did I relent and go, right, okay, I see it now. I see it. We could have that with Otis. Like, let's not forget with Otis and Chad, they're both legit. Obviously, one's an Olympian, but Otis does have a legit amateur wrestling background. And if they can remove Sami from the equation, and Sami's like, right, it's all on you now, Otis. It's all on you, because I'm now busy. Roman Reigns has come back, and I've been sucked into this crap. We could have a storyline that builds from SummerSlam all the way to WrestleMania, where Otis becomes the hero and Shad becomes just this epic villain. Like, you know, the Kurt Angle is most heelish, all over again. And I think you're right. I think that could go from, you know, the outhouse to the penthouse if they tell the right story, because they could get the fans really behind Otis. And all of a sudden, the more I talk about it, the more I kind of want it to happen. Sami, you got to drop the title. Yeah.
Sorry, Sammy. It's for the great good.
And people are talking about what happens with CM Punk now. And guys, I mean, like, did you watch the press conference after Clash at the Castle? You ain't getting that boy in a Hell in a Cell or a cage match.
Yeah, that's kind of cringy, that, wasn't it?
I wasn't a fan.
Yeah, that's.
I ripped the hell, you know, out of AEW when they dug all this crap up. And the other day, I was like, "Oh, Phil, just move on, mate." Like, even AEW have moved on now, Phil. Move on, buddy. Like, yes, the donuts. Yes, you're saying the same lines, but I see what you're doing there. Yeah. No, but here's a thought. Let's all just stop. Let's stop with the tribalism. How about we just you focus on doing what you do, CM Punk, which is being a great wrestler and a great character. You know, but I want to see him be less of a human being and more of a cartoon character, I think, with CM Punk, where I have the opposite view with everybody else. But anyway, Gable should be given a Kurt Angle TNA gimmick. Jerk, got to respect the drive and talent. Yeah. And don't you hate those people, Sassy? Don't you hate those people who are complete douchebags, but they're great at everything? Anyway, Connor saying, during CM Punk Hell in a Cell WrestleMania 41 main event, loser leaves WWE. He's only just come back, and McIntyre ain't going nowhere. So
not anymore. No,
not anymore. Yeah, but yeah, nice idea. It's all Phil got. Still a petty ego. Okay, sassy. I personally think he's in the right. Like I've said some things about CM Punk on this channel, and I'll say them again, and I meant every word. But I only said them because I'm a CM Punk fan, and I was let, I feel the people have been let down by him the most are CM Punk fans, and the real CM Punk fans know that. And the CM Punk fans who don't know that probably aren't really CM Punk fans. That's just my view on it. But yeah, I'd be let down by anybody else in that circumstance if I had felt so highly for them. But anyway, we don't want to dig all that up because I promised I wouldn't. But so I think we'll look at wrapping it up pretty soon. Scott, is there anything else in the future now coming on from Clash that you're looking forward to? Anything that we might not have talked about? Like we have new women's tag team champions.
I think they're being hot potatoes back, to be honest. But Piping Evan, like you say, she obviously had a good showing in this. It just felt like the Scottish wrestlers get them on the show and all that, which cool.
Yeah.
Chelsea Green was pretty cool. Yes. She's quite funny. Stole the show a little bit there as well. Made me realize again just how impactful Bayley's current run is, sadly. The Royal Rumble winner wins the title at WrestleMania, but doesn't feel as important at the moment, which is a shame. It's hard to tell what she needs or what that division needs to kind of get that spark back. I'm not quite sure what it is, but it is what it is. But yeah, beyond that, I think I'm just excited to see how they play out the Punk Drew storyline most at the moment. I think that's the thing I'm most excited for. A bit nervous for what's going on with the Bloodline at the moment because it does feel like we mentioned the BT earlier on, that it does kind of feel like that at the moment. It doesn't feel like the real Bloodline. I think Roman's return pop is going to be absolutely incredible. So that's what I'm holding on to, that they do that right and at the right place and the right time. But yeah, it's I guess that's my concern with that feud. But just like what you said earlier on, give Triple H the chance, I guess, and see where we go with it.
So I don't know if you've heard my fantasy booking for this Bloodline thing. So I'm of the view that there needs to be a third and final definitive chapter between Cody and Roman. Maybe Hell in a Cell, something where there can't be any BS, because no matter what we think about the previous two matches, there was a lot of BS, there's a lot of interference. Yeah. I kind of want to see a match between them both where Cody wins clean, and after the match, Roman rises up like a sea monster, gets in Cody's face, gets a microphone and goes, "I acknowledge you, Cody Rhodes." And I think that ends the story nicely. It brings it full circle. And let's be honest, people are ready to cheer Roman as a babyface. Ironically, for the first time ever, the fans actually are behind Roman and want to cheer him. What's going on? Vince, your dream came true.
It worked.
But finally, you went the long way around, but we got there. Yeah. But I love the idea of him completely ignoring the Bloodline and going straight for Cody. Ignoring Paul Heyman, ignoring Solo, and then the Bloodline start kicking the crap out of him. And then we could have a situation where maybe Jimmy comes out to save Roman. Maybe they reunite, but Jay isn't prepared to. Like, what you people put me through. Maybe it takes Sami Zayn to be the man to say to him, Jay, I was right there with you, mate, but we've got to. And then we have a situation where the original four do ride again to bring down Solo and his people. And we've also, let's not forget, we've got Hikuleo waiting in the wings, coming in to join the company. We've got Jacob Fatu coming in to join the company. Word on the street is Zilla Fatu might also be coming in. So there's a lot of Samoans getting involved before
we could go on with this storyline for about another 20 years. I think.
Yeah, we could. Let's bring back the wild Samoans. Let's get Rikishi back. Let's get everybody. And then let's not forget, there's The Rock. Like, is The Rock the guy pulling Solo strings? Is he the one? Because I love the idea that they defeat Solo, they defeat that Bloodline, only for Solo to go, I did it for The Rock. It writes itself, Scott, does it not? It writes itself.
It does.
just I swear to God that I bet they do it. I bet they do that. I bet we see Solo say that at some point.
I do think he's going to be. I do think The Rock's behind Solo. I do think that is the case. Whether or not the Cody thing comes back into it, I'm not sure, because I think it might muddy the waters. I think people are already ready to cheer Roman, so I think just that theme song hitting to it's the obvious thing. Don't get me wrong. The obvious story to tell is to just be like Solo is doing something horrible, and then the music hits and Roman comes out and kind of, they face off or something like that. But sometimes the obvious is the best thing to do, I guess. And it's obvious for a reason, because they've kind of whet our appetites in that way. So I do feel like The Rock is going to be behind. It's just all timing though, isn't it? Like, that was the issue with Mania in the first place, why it became so messy, because they didn't know what they were doing. They kept changing their mind because The Rock's schedule and whatever else, and that's going to be the case when he comes back. So whether, like, is he coming back at SummerSlam, is he coming back next week on SmackDown, we don't know. Is it going to be next WrestleMania or the one after that? You can't drag the storyline out too long, but then again, how long is Roman going to be away for anyway? Like, nothing would be surprising to me at the moment. If Roman came back at Money in the Bank, or he didn't come back to a Royal Rumble or WrestleMania, it would all kind of make sense, weirdly enough.
My money is he comes back at SummerSlam or before SummerSlam. And again, I'm hanging on to my challenging Cody thing, because I think because they're now building. Obviously, Solo Sikoa came out and got in Cody's face.
True, yeah.
So we are now going to see something. But I do love the idea of them having a rubber match, because I think they deserve it. And
even if that does happen, and the New Bloodline beat up Roman at the end of it, something like that, and then The Rock comes out and says, I was behind it all the time, I told him to do that, like, we knew you couldn't get it done, or something like that. That's a way to do it as well.
Well, my view was we keep The Rock quiet until close to Mania. We have Solo be the supervillain, but then Solo reveals it was never him. Every time he was referring to the tribal chief, it wasn't Roman and it wasn't him. And then the smell, and that's when he says, I did it for The Rock. But that's just, I just think that is a wasted opportunity if they don't do that. It really is. It'll remind us. It'll remind us of something we don't really want to be reminded about.
Yeah, that wasn't good in the first place. No, but it's gone down in like history, as this iconic moment for, I guess, the wrong reasons. But yeah,
be honest, you'd pop for the gobbledygooker now. I would. I wouldn't back then.
Yeah, I would.
Like, he came out like that Raw 25. They brought
out
the sodding gobbledygooker. The thing we have prayed at night. I have, made voodoo dolls and stuck pins in. But when they saw the gobbledygooker again, I was like, oh, look, it's that really shit thing they
Time
did.
heals all wounds. That's it.
It does, yeah. Now let's kill him and eat him for Thanksgiving, guys. But yeah. So not that we celebrate that here because we're a different country, but you know what I mean. Turkeys, plates, food, blah. But yeah, Scott, thank you for joining us. It's nice when our worlds collide. I know it was just you representing Red Noise and me representing Gimme A Hull Yeah, but that's fine. I opened the floodgates to the guys, but everybody's busy. They're doing their own thing. But one final thing, Scott, do you want to plug anything before we go, before I do my plug?
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. Real pleasure to come on and chat wrestling with you as always. But yeah, you can find me at Scott_Rebnoise. That's REBNOISE on all social media. But you can also find me talking wrestling on Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling, our YouTube channel, and like everyone else these days, you can also find us on X and Instagram and TikTok and all that fun stuff as well. But of course, YouTube is where we're predominantly at. So yeah, if you've been entertained by me for even 30 seconds and feel like giving me another chance, then I'd love to see you over there on our channel as well. But ultimately, yeah, fully appreciate what you guys are doing over here and Gimme A Hull Yeah and WrestleSphere as well. Thanks for giving me a chance to come on board. And yeah, looking forward to hearing your plugs because I'm always happy to hear what you guys are doing as well. Yeah, so here comes my plug. So for starters, guys, I'm not going to talk about the gaming stuff tonight. I don't think this is the place. But yeah, Gimme A Hull Yeah tonight. Don't forget, Dan and Dom will be live tonight at 1 a.m. BST. So usual time for you guys in the States. Dom is joining Dan tonight for Raw.
as a bit of a one-off because of the Uncle Howdy stuff. So let's hope it's good for Dom's sake, because he's not going to be happy if it isn't, guys. If we just get a little vignette for 10 seconds with a silly bird on it, that boy ain't going to be happy. So WWE...
I do want to wake up tomorrow, though, to a video of Dom in his dressing gown throwing a cup of coffee and some biscuits everywhere because he's furious that nothing happened. As much as I want it to work out for Dom, I would love to see that content as well. So tune in for that just in case, guys.
I've been doing this gig long enough to know there's nothing funnier than Diva Dom, who we often bring out when we do our Reb Noise versus Gimme A Hull Yeah draft streams. We often get Diva Dom come out then. And then last time I was deliberately poking him to get him to come out. So I was deliberately messing up the draft just to see.
It's all for entertainment, man.
Yeah, it was all for you guys. I know he might not speak to me for days, but it'll be worth it. I'm joking. He knew what I was doing. But yeah, so check us out tonight. Dan and Dom will be back. I'll be tucked up in bed because I'm exhausted and I have a sore throat, would you believe? But yeah, so that and keep an eye on WrestleSphere, guys. If you don't know, if you're new to Gimme A Hull Yeah, Dom, myself, and Andy Spores run. We actually are real journalists. Would you believe? We're not just silly men in hats who run a podcast. We do have day jobs, and WrestleSphere is a big part of that. And if you want to see some of the Gimme A Hull Yeah guys interview actual WWE wrestlers, TNA wrestlers, and Scott, you do it over on your channel as well to put you over to, we've been in the press events together before, haven't we? Money in the Bank, when we were all in that little room, we were climbing all over each other's wires and stuff. It got a bit messy, but yeah. So check out WrestleSphere, guys. Lots of original content coming on there at the moment. But yeah. Scott, thank you for joining me. Guys in the chat, thank you for joining me. I'm going to have Shotzi Blackheart play us out. But before she does, always remember, he did it for The Rock.
Hello, this is Shotzi Blackheart, and welcome to Gimme A Hull Yeah! I hope everyone checking this out in Yorkshire and beyond is having a great day.